He had $47,000 in his account that morning. By midnight, he had nothing. Not a single naira. Not a roof over his head. Not even a family to call his own. This is not a movie. This is not something I made up to keep you watching. This is the true story of Chukwuemeka Obi, a 34-year-old man from Owerri, Imo State, who lost everything in one single night. And what happened next will change the way you see your own struggles forever. But before I tell you how he rebuilt his life from absolute zero, you need to understand what he lost. Because losing money is one thing. Losing your family, your identity, your will to live, that is something else entirely. Stay with me. This story gets darker before it gets brighter. And the ending? The ending will stay with you for days. Chukwuemeka was the kind of man everyone in his village looked up to. He was not born rich. Far from it. His father was a palm wine tapper who died when Chukwuemeka was just 12 years old. His mother, Mama Emeka, as everyone called her, sold akara by the roadside to keep her 5 children alive. Growing up, Chukwuemeka knew hunger. He knew the shame of wearing torn uniforms to school. He knew what it felt like to watch other children eat bread and egg for breakfast while he chewed on cold iba from the night before. But Chukwuemeka had something that poverty could not take away from him. He had a fire in his belly, a determination that burned so hot, nothing could put it out. He finished secondary school with the best results in his class, but there was no money for university. So while his classmates went off to study in Nsukka and Lagos, Chukwuemeka stayed behind. He became an apprentice to a furniture maker in Aba. For 7 years, he learned the trade. He slept on wooden planks in the workshop. He ate once a day, sometimes twice if he was lucky. He saved every kobo he earned like his life depended on it. Because it did. When he was finally settled by his master at the age of 24, Chukwuemeka started his own small furniture business. Just him, a few tools, and a rented corner in a mechanic village. Within 5 years, something incredible happened. His business exploded. People in Owerri, Port Harcourt, even Abuja started ordering his furniture. He was known for quality. He was known for honesty. In a world where craftsmen cut corners and cheated customers, Chukwuemeka stood out. By the time he was 32, he had built a proper workshop. He employed 12 young men, most of them from poor backgrounds like himself. He bought a plot of land and built a modest house for his mother and siblings. He married Ada, a beautiful woman from Umuahia, who loved him not for his money, but for his heart. Life was good. For the first time in his existence, Chukwuemeka knew what it felt like to breathe without fear, to sleep without hunger gnawing at his stomach, to dream without limits. He had made it. The village boy who ate once a day had become a man of substance. But then something happened that changed everything. It started on a Thursday evening in March. The Harmattan wind was particularly harsh that year, dry and dusty, carrying with it the smell of burning grass from nearby farms. Chukwuemeka was at his workshop late that night, finishing an order for a wealthy businessman in Lagos. It was a large dining set, worth over 1 million naira, the biggest order he had ever received. His phone rang around 9 p.m. It was his younger brother, Ikenna. "Senior Emeka, come home now. Something has happened." The fear in Ikenna's voice made Chukwuemeka's blood run cold. He asked what was wrong, but Ikenna could not speak. He just kept saying, "Come home. Please, come home." Chukwuemeka drove as fast as he could. The journey from his workshop to his family compound usually took 20 minutes. That night, he made it in 12. But when he arrived, What he saw made him fall to his knees in the red dust of his village. His mother's house, the one he had built with his own hands, the one that represented everything he had worked for, was on fire. Flames reached for the sky like angry spirits, consuming everything in their path. Neighbors were running around with buckets of water, but it was useless. The fire was too strong, too hungry, too fast. Chukwuemeka ran toward the burning building, screaming his mother's name. "Mama! Mama Emeka!" Strong hands held him back. It was his uncle, Chief Okonkwo, who grabbed him and refused to let go. "She is gone, my son," the old man said, tears streaming down his weathered face. "Your mother did not make it out. The fire started in her room while she was sleeping. By the time anyone noticed, it was too late." Chukwuemeka collapsed. Right there, in front of his burning childhood home, the strongest man in the village crumbled like a child. But the tragedy was not over. Little did he know, this was only the beginning of his nightmare. The next morning, as the ashes of his mother's house still smoldered, Chukwuemeka received a phone call from his bank. There had been unusual activity on his account. Multiple transfers totaling over 20 million naira had been made overnight. His account was empty. Every naira he had saved over the past 10 years was gone. At first, he thought it was a mistake. Maybe the bank had made an error. Maybe there was a simple explanation. He rushed to the bank branch in Owerri, his heart pounding in his chest, like a drum at a village festival. The bank manager's face told him everything he needed to know before any words were spoken. "Mr. Obi, we have investigated the transactions. They were authorized using your ATM card and PIN number. They appear to be legitimate transfers to various accounts across the country." Chukwuemeka shook his head violently. "That is impossible. My ATM card is in my wallet. I have not given anyone my PIN." But then a terrible thought crept into his mind. A thought so dark, so painful, that he initially refused to entertain it. Ada, his wife, the night before, Ada had complained of a headache and asked him to bring her some medicine from his wallet. He had been tired, focused on finishing the Lagos order. He had simply handed her his entire wallet and told her to take whatever money she needed for the medicine. His ATM card was in that wallet, and Ada had been watching him enter his PIN at the ATM machine just last week. Chukwuemeka drove home in a daze. He found the house quiet, too quiet. Ada's clothes were gone. Her jewelry was gone. Her shoes, her bags, everything that belonged to her had vanished. On the dining table he found a letter. Just 3 sentences written in her neat handwriting. "I never loved you. I only wanted your money. By the time you read this, I will be far away. Do not bother looking for me." Chukwuemeka sat down slowly at the dining table, the letter still in his hands. In less than 24 hours, he had lost his mother, his life savings, and his wife. The 3 pillars of his existence had crumbled into dust. But wait, there was more. Later that same day, while he was still in shock, his phone rang again. It was his younger sister, Chiamaka. "Senior Emeka, the police are at the workshop. They say you have to come immediately." When Chukwuemeka arrived at his workshop, he found a scene of chaos. Police officers were loading his equipment into trucks. His employees stood by helplessly, watching everything being carted away. A young police officer approached him with a piece of paper. "Mr. Chukwuemeka Obi, you are under arrest for fraud and theft. Someone has accused you of selling fake furniture and collecting money without delivering goods." The accuser was the Lagos businessman, the same one whose dining set Chukwuemeka had been working on the night his mother died. Somehow, Someone had collected payment on his behalf and disappeared with the money. Now the businessman wanted justice, and Chukwuemeka was the only person he could find. In that moment, standing in the dust of his ransacked workshop, Chukwuemeka finally understood. Ada had not just stolen his money. She had systematically destroyed his entire life. The fraud, the theft accusation, everything was connected. He later learned that Ada had been working with a gang of criminals all along. They had targeted him from the very beginning. The beautiful woman from Umuahia, who claimed to love him, had been sent specifically to destroy him. And she had succeeded. Chukwuemeka spent 3 months in prison before his case was finally thrown out due to lack of evidence. But by then, the damage was done. His business was gone. His reputation was destroyed. His employees had scattered to find other work. His family compound had burned to the ground. He walked out of prison gates with nothing but the clothes on his back and 30 naira in his pocket. 30 naira, the price of 1 sachet of pure water. That night, Chukwuemeka slept under a bridge in Owerri, the same city where he had once been a respected businessman, the same city where people used to call him Oga and treat him with respect. Now he was invisible, just another homeless man among the forgotten ones. For weeks, he wandered the streets like a ghost. He begged for food. He slept wherever he could find shelter. He washed his single set of clothes in gutters and waited for them to dry in the sun. Depression wrapped around him like a cold blanket. There were nights when he thought about ending it all. What was the point of living when everything had been taken away? What was the point of fighting when there was nothing left to fight for? He thought it was over. He believed his story had ended. But he was wrong, because something happened under that bridge that changed everything. One rainy night, as Chukwuemeka huddled under a torn polythene bag, trying to stay dry, an old man appeared beside him. The man was also homeless, but there was something different about him. Something calm. Something peaceful. "You look like a man who has lost everything," the old man said, his voice barely audible above the sound of the rain. Chukwuemeka nodded, too tired to speak. The old man smiled. "Good. Now you are ready to gain everything." Chukwuemeka looked at him like he was mad. "What are you talking about, old man? I have nothing. I am nothing." The old man shook his head slowly. "No, my son. You have something that money cannot buy and fire cannot destroy. You have yourself. You have your mind. You have your 2 hands. As long as these things remain, you can rebuild anything." Those words planted a seed in Chukwuemeka's broken heart, a tiny seed of hope in a desert of despair. The old man reached into his torn bag and pulled out a small, weathered Bible. "Take this," he said. "Read it when you feel like giving up. It saved my life once. Maybe it will save yours." The next morning, the old man was gone. Chukwuemeka never saw him again. To this day, he is not sure if the man was real or if God had sent him an angel disguised as a homeless man. But the seed had been planted, and slowly, very slowly, it began to grow. Chukwuemeka made a decision that morning. He would not die under that bridge. He would not let Ada and her gang win. He would not let his mother's death be in vain. He remembered something his mother used to say when he was a child, struggling to survive. "Nwam, the world will knock you down many times, but you are an Igbo man. We do not stay on the ground. We rise. We always rise." So Chukwuemeka rose. He started by doing small jobs around the motor park, carrying loads for travelers, washing cars, anything that could earn him a few hundred naira. He ate once a day, sometimes not at all. But he saved every kobo he made. After 3 months of hustling, he had saved enough to buy a few basic carpentry tools. Not much, just a hammer, a saw, and some nails. But it was enough. He found an abandoned corner in the mechanic village where he had started years ago, the same place where his journey had begun. And he started again. Word spread slowly at first. The former furniture king was back, but now he was working alone, from the dust, without employees or a proper workshop. Some people laughed at him. Some people pitied him. Many just ignored him. But Chukwuemeka did not care. He focused on what he could control. He made beautiful furniture with his rough, calloused hands. He charged fair prices. He delivered exactly what he promised. 1 customer became 2. 2 became 5. 5 became 20. Within a year, Chukwuemeka had rebuilt his business from scratch. Not as big as before, not as fancy, but it was his. Every piece of wood, every tool, every naira had been earned through sweat and tears and an unbreakable will to survive. He never found Ada. He never recovered his stolen money. His mother was gone forever. But something else happened. Something he had not expected. He found peace. Real peace. The kind that does not depend on how much money is in your account or how big your house is. The kind that comes from knowing that you survived the worst thing that could ever happen to you and you are still standing. Today, Chukwuemeka is 42 years old. His business is thriving again. He remarried 2 years ago to a woman named Ngozi, a widow with 2 children who loved him not for his money, but for his story, for his strength, for his heart. He built a new house for himself. He started a foundation that helps young apprentices start their own businesses. Every year, on the anniversary of his mother's death, he feeds the homeless people who live under bridges in Owerri. He never forgot where he came from. He never forgot who helped him when he had nothing. And every night before he sleeps, he reads from the weathered Bible that the old man gave him under the bridge. The pages are torn and stained now, but the words are still there, still speaking life into his soul. The moral of Chukwuemeka's story is simple, but powerful. Your tragedy does not have to be your ending. Sometimes, life strips you of everything so it can give you something better. Sometimes, you have to lose who you were to discover who you can become. If you are going through a difficult time right now, if you feel like everything has been taken from you, if you are sleeping under your own metaphorical bridge, please hear this. Your story is not over. The fire that burns everything down is sometimes the same fire that forges steel. Keep going. Keep fighting. Keep rising. Because you are still here, and as long as you are still here, your comeback story is still being written. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you that hope exists even in the darkest places, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And if you want to hear more stories like this, stories of pain and redemption, of loss and victory, of ordinary people doing extraordinary things, stay with us. Your next story might be the one that changes everything.